Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be continuing our read through this National Geographic special magazine called Atlas of the Ancient World, Exploring Great Civilizations. And tonight, as you can tell by the title, we'll be reading about Alexander the Great. Now in this series, number one, I've got the paintbrush, because you guys love the paintbrush. And second, I have not read any of this. I've only looked at the titles so that I can group together a video for you guys. So we're going to be reading this together. So since I haven't read anything beforehand, you're gonna get my raw reactions to things that I would normally be like, oh no, don't say that. Just will come out. There'll be very little editing, if any. And we'll see what happens. Let's learn about the age of Alexander. Let's see what this says. I'm going to use this to read. Alexander was famous by birth, son of the mighty King Philip II of Macedon. By the time he was 18, in 338 BCE, Alexander, who's shown here, had already won renown, helping his father conquer the Greek city-states. By the time Alexander was 20, his father had been assassinated, and he had become king of Macedon and leader of a newly united Greek army. Soon after, he decided to carry out his father's plans to take on the Persian Empire. From 334 to 323 BCE, backed by cavalry and foot soldiers, Alexander paved an immense path of conquest from Persia to the Indus Valley, including a long siege of the Phoenician port city of Tyre, which was shown here. However, when he reached India and was ready to press on, his footsore army mutinied. Alexander turned toward home. He died on the way of a fever, or possibly by poison, at the age of 33. So let's look at this art. This is a very famous mosaic showing his battle against the Persians. And I love how it's he's like an anime character. His eyes are just way too big. But this is the only depiction of Alexander that we have from olden times, from people who had seen him before, This is the only picture that we have from his time. And it says it's from Pompeii. How neat is that? I know in Pompeii, recently, in the past few weeks of me filming this, they have uncovered a bunch of new mosaics and things in Pompeii. It's pretty neat. And let's look at this. This is Tyre, which today is in Lebanon. You can see these big triremes here, these big warships attacking the city, bombarding it. Pew, pew, pew. Oh, this ship's getting blown up though, so I guess they're attacking back. Big siege of Tyre. This talks about Aristotle. Aristotle was more than a philosopher. He was a scientist, mathematician, and teacher whose writings formed the core of Western education for more than 1,000 years. Born in Macedonia, he studied philosophy under Plato in Athens, but eventually diverged from his teacher's emphasis on ideal forms to focus on the real world. He and his students, for instance, studied and described in detail more than 500 species of insects and other animals. He was the first to recognize whales and dolphins as mammals, nursing their young and breathing air. I didn't know that he was the first to realize whales and dolphins were mammals. How interesting. Way to go, Aristotle. Aristotle's most famous pupil was Alexander the Great, whom he taught from the age of 13, and who sent him specimens from his travels. However, when Alexander aspired to godhood, Aristotle left Athens for the city of Chalcis, where he died in 322 BCE. And here's a very modern looking statue of Aristotle. He's got a scroll here. About to go read some books, I guess. All right, let's get to the map, the fun part. The legacy of Alexander. Alexander the Great's roots of conquest and the territory he eventually controlled are overlaid here against the borders of today's countries. Alexander's journeys were remarkable not only for the thousands of miles he traveled, but also for the speed with which they were made. In just 7 years, he marched his troops from Macedonia to the Hindu Kush, battling his way through enemy territory and founding cities along the way. Let's see the key down here. It says Philip's possessions in 336 BCE is this dark tan. So we can see here's Macedonia. He's also got Thrace over here. There's Thessaly. And I guess a couple of islands down here as well. Makes sense here in the Aegean Sea. Doesn't have all of Thrace. He doesn't have Byzantium, I suppose. But then Alexander's empire in 323 BCE is all of the tan. So he's got Epirus over here and Boeotia. He's expanded further up into Europe along the Danube. He's got Byzantium, and he's got all of this area in Asia Minor. There's Caria, Cappadocia. He conquered all of the Levant area down into Egypt and the Western Desert, Egyptus. It looks like along the coast there in Cyrene. Across Mesopotamia, down Media by the Zagros Mountains there. There's Parthia, Hyrcania, Dahe, Araya. I haven't heard of some of these. Carmania, Gedrosia. I haven't heard of these. Drangiana, Arachosia. I know Bactria and Sogdiana. And of course Punjab, just still the name of the region today. Let's see, I can see all the different towns that he founded named after him too. Can't wait to look at those. Region allied with Alexander is light yellow. Oh, I see. So I guess this area here and this area is allied. I see. Okay. But this is all his empire. These are allies. All right, root of Alexander with date is red. So let's get into it. Starting down here, this looks like the Battle of Megalopolis. Also a terrible, terrible movie. But we're heading up. Wait, is that the ending? Oh goodness, that's the ending. Where does this start? Surely in Macedonia. What? Okay, 334, 335. 334, I guess that's where we start. 330, 331. What? 330. Oh, duh, it's BCE. It's BCE, so it goes backwards. Okay, so 335 is probably the start. So, it looks like we're heading up to the Danube. There's Philippopolis. Now it's Plovdiv. Heading down along, I guess, the border with Macedonia. Oh, I see those are the successors, these borders. We'll look at those last then, because that's after he's gone. And then down here to Boeotia, and there's Megalopolis. I see now. This is Chaeronea, that battle there. All right. So now 334. Now he's heading off to, I almost said Sparta, Persia. Holy moly. Along the I guess the Hellespont here. There's Troy. Battle here at Granicus River, I think it says. Down here to Magnesia. There's battles here at Miletus. And what is that called now? It's Bodrum. Halicarnassus, obviously. Halicarnassus, famous site. Looks like some went this way and some went this way to fight and invade. By Tarsus. There's the Battle of Issus. And then he has a big diversion down to Tyre. Right, 332. Yeah, we're still good. 332. There's Gaza. And he heads down to Egypt, to Memphis there. I think that was the capital at the time. Comes up here and founds Alexandria, because he's made Pharaoh of Egypt. Then he heads around. He probably cuts through the desert there, they assume, because there's literally just sand here. There's nothing here. Cuts back to Memphis, and then goes up this way to Gaugamela, which is the battle that is depicted in that mosaic that we saw him with his big anime eyes. Heads down to Babylon. Okay, I gotta follow these arrows carefully because he came back to Babylon a couple times, and that's also where he died in 323 BCE. Heading over this way, there's Persepolis and Pasargadae. And then that's 330. Are we still good? Yeah, 330. Heading through Media, heads up Ecbatana, or Hamadan now. Heads up Ragay, it's now Tehran. Goes to Hecatompylus in Hyrcania. Passes by this area here to Tsusia, Articana. He establishes Alexandria Arsion. Is that what it says? Arion, so that's an E. Arion, which is today Herat. Comes down here and founds Alexandria Proptasia, which is now Frada. This way through the mountains now. He founds Alexandria Arakaton, which is now Kandahar. Founds this Alexandria, which is now Ghazni. And then I guess he heads up. I don't see a year. Okay, 320. Okay, we're good. He heads up, founding Alexandria in Caucasia, which is now Bagram. There's Alexandria Oxiana, which is now Kondos or Drapsaka. Heads up Bactria, which was then called Balk. Heading up this way. Goodness, this is so confusing. I guess he hops over to Bukhara, comes here and founds Alexandria Eskete, which is now Kujand. It's back down here. His base is there in Samarkand. There's the Battle of Sogdian Rock. We go back to Bactria, and now we're heading back there through Kabul. A battle here at Awareness, 326. He heads down through Taxila. There's the Battle of Hydaspes River, which I want to say that was where they said we got to turn around. But maybe it was this battle here at Sangala. There's some areas here he found. There's Bucephala, named after his horse, and Nicaea. Alright, heading down here through the Punjab. There's a battle right here. He founds Alexandria in India. Down along the Indus, through Patala. And then he splits off. His team split off. Some went by sea, and then he went over land. Because they probably would not have all survived if they made a big land journey. But of course, Alexander wanted to make a land journey. So most of his crew went by sea along the coast back to Babylon. But he went overland. There's Alexandria Oriton that he founded. He follows the coast here, heads up to Pura, which is now Iran Shar. Found this Alexandria here. I guess some came up there. Oh, what is that? The root of Craterus. So it looks like some of his team just split off this way too. Then he's back in ancient Persia. There's Pasargadae. He goes to Isfahan. And then, goodness, does he? That's 330, 325. So no, he doesn't go to Isfahan. He goes, I guess this is very confusing. 324, 323. I don't know, this is very confusing. By the way, there's Susa, where he burns the castle to the ground. Oh no, that was Persepolis. He burned Persepolis to the ground. There's Alexandria Charax that he founds. But anyway, he winds up back in Babylon where he dies at a party. Pretty much. He passes through what's now Baghdad at some point, but Baghdad didn't exist back then. And I guess, yeah, all these towns here can see in like gray didn't exist yet, like Mosul didn't exist yet. Damascus certainly did, though. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm confused. All right. Oh, a siege is the big red ones. All right. So now let's look at... This map was confusing. They should have made like the journey east one color and the journey west a different color, you know? Like the sea journey is gray. This journey is gray. Oh well. See, now if I had looked at this beforehand, I would have had time to analyze this and figure out which way was what, and I would have shown you perfectly well, like I was not confused at all. Little secrets that I have on this channel. So let's see. After he died, all of this land that he conquered got split up by his generals. So Antigonus got all of the purple, which looks like this area here. That's a huge chunk of land. I guess he even got all this, which wasn't conquered, I guess. Interesting. So pretty much like almost all of Turkey. He's got like almost all of Syria today. It said it had the normal borders, but I don't see any. Do you see any normal, like today's borders? I don't see any. I thought it said it did, but I don't see any. But anyway, all of like there's Syria cutting into Jordan, Israel and Palestinian states there, Palestine. And I feel like I'm leaving... Oh, Lebanon. I was like, I'm forgetting somebody. Cassander got the green, which looks like this chunk of Greece here. And probably lots of North Macedon today. North Macedonia. Lysimachus got the red. Red. Oh, that's Thrace up here. He got this area. Ptolemy, very famously, got all of this Egypt, and he founded the Ptolemaic dynasty, which is the line that Cleopatra comes from. And Seleucus founded the Seleucid dynasty. All of this here, he got pretty much all of what was the Persian Empire, basically forming a new Persian Empire. All of this area here, goodness, that's like way too many countries to describe. We obviously have Afghanistan in there, obviously Iraq because he's got Persia, lots of Pakistan today, up into Uzbekistan. So much land there. And I didn't realize how big the Seleucid Empire was. I just figured it was like the former Persia, but it's all this. Wild. Yeah, present day city names in parentheses. I see. Interesting. I don't like this map. I don't like it. I've decided. It's too confusing. Some of these maps are pretty great. I'm not a fan of this one. At least the route. And I think it should overlay like the modern border so that we can really get like a scale of how much land he conquered in like today's terms, you know. But anyway, that is our map of Alexander the Great's empire. So after this, we're going to do a big segment on Rome. Roman Republic, and then we'll go into the Roman Empire. We'll cover a lot more than what we did tonight. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. This is the only series that's like off the cuff and unprepared, unfiltered. So if you're not a fan of this, still check me out. I still have a lot that's very well prepared and rehearsed and scripted and all of that. This one is just for funsies, because some of you guys really enjoy me totally unfiltered and unprepared. But I also hope that you have a good night.